On a scale from 1 to 10, mate, how bad have your farts been this morning? What's up guys, Chris here from Vo-Gus Prospecting. If you're new to the channel, a big warm welcome. And if you're a brand new shiny, not quite yet moldy hat like this one, welcome back. Today I've got something a little bit different for you. We're interviewing Dan Hurd from Dan Hurd Prospecting. This has been in the works for some time and I'm aiming to do several interviews like this so we can all get the experience of learning from people who have different skill sets in different regions of the world. If it's one thing I've learned in my time as a gold prospector, it's that the information that other people have gleaned from years of experience is invaluable, and this interview is no different. And I hope it gives you guys some insight into not only how you can improve your prospecting, but some tips on nude panning and complimenting Pioneer Paulie as opposed to just calling him a vampire. This interview was originally conducted so I could upload it to my podcast on Spotify. It is currently up there for you to download, so if you don't want to sit here and watch the video, you can go onto Spotify, download it, have it on your phone and listen to it on the go while you're doing your work commute or even while you're out on the creek. And I'm also looking for other people to do interviews with. I've got several people lined up, but if you would like to be part of this interview series, please send me an email. Again, links in the description below. So I hope you enjoy this interview. It gave me a heap of insight. Hopefully it'll give you a heap of insight. And beyond that, I hope you enjoy finding out what Dan would name his boat. So I'm here with Dan Hurd from Dan Hurd Prospecting today. A big welcome to Mr. Redbeard. It's fantastic to have him on the channel and on the podcast for the very first time, the very first interview that I've ever done. What would you like to introduce yourself, Mr. Dan Hurd? Who are you? What do you get up to?
Sure. Well, we gotta do it. Hello, everyone. Dan Hurd with Dan Hurd Prospecting here. Of course, you gotta do it.
You got to.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, you got it. You got it. Yeah. So Dan Hurd from Canada, all the way across the ocean there, in the northern hemisphere even, and in BC, Canada. Yes, just around the corner from Pioneer Paulie.
Paulie Pioneer.
And,
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Paulie's awesome. Just finished watching his video in Arizona.
How good was that video? I literally finished watching it about half an hour ago and I was like, oh my god, I've got so much more to do on my editing.
His editing is so amazing.
I was talking to him.
He spent days editing, but it's so amazing.
When I was talking to him yesterday, he said that it took him 5 days to edit that video. And it shows, like it really shows. I went back through the video that I'm currently editing now and I was like, okay, gonna up my game, gonna just up that level a little bit because I've got to bring it.
I know, same thing. The last few videos I've done, I was like, I can't release it like this. Look at Paulie's, look at what he's doing. I gotta make this better.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, now I've got to get into color grading. It's just he's setting the bar real high for the rest of us, but it's good. It's going to push it's going to push the entertainment factor forward. Like you see shows like Gold Rush and they're okay, but I think most people watch YouTube on a day-to-day basis now, and that's going to be that the next thing. So if we can bring that sort of quality to it, who knows what doors that's going to open.
Oh, yeah. And I am conscious about quality versus quantity, and do I want to jeopardize going out and filming my next episode so I can spend more time editing my last one? And
I know, right? Like I think Paulie's got a disadvantage and an advantage when it comes to that. His claims are so far away from his house and the weather's so nasty there at the moment that like he gets that bit of extra time to edit, but he doesn't put out as much. So it's a juggling act for sure. I mean, we could talk about YouTube all day. We could. It's a fickle thing to get into. I mean, you pump out like one every 3 days. You're a machine for for videos. Just
minimum of one a week. Of one a week, but I try to do 2 a week.
Yeah,
that's not necessarily possible in the wintertime.
No. That's the same for us in summer. Like I aim for 1 a week, but if it's 45 degrees for 7 days, I'm not going outside. I'm not doing that. That's just nuts. It's too much pain and suffering. All right, let's jump into some questions. Right, we're gonna throw some prospecting questions at you because that's what we want to know about. But we're going to throw some other ones in there just to get your brain ticking. I figure you're a teacher and you need some stimulation every now and again.
Really? Oh, that was not, if anything, but yes. Okay.
First question. This is a random one out of the random basket. Do you own a boat?
Own a which?
A boat. A, f- a
A boat.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. A boat. I have. I've had some like aluminum fishing boats in the past. Currently, I don't have any kind of boat.
Well,
Oh, I have a kayak.
oh well, that's nah. It's not really. It's more of a floating pontoon you can sit in.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
What
But
what
other than that, no boat.
what were their names? The question really was, if you had a boat, what would its name be? What would you like to call a boat if you had a boat?
Okay, well, that has a weird answer for sure. Our family has a historic name for our boats, actually.
Oh, this is going to be good. This is a good question. Here we go.
Yes, and we've actually had a lot of boats named the same thing. In that, my side of the family, the Hurd side of the family, everyone's name starts with a D.
Right.
Dan, Dion, Doug, Dusty, David. We all have D. So our historic name for our boats was Hades. Not Hades as in hell.
Yeah.
No, Hades as in Hades, as that's our radio call for everyone. If you want to call everyone on the radio,
I love
you
that.
call Hades.
That is so good. That is so good. I was not expecting that. This is why I've got these questions in here, right? Because Hades and Dusty sounds like a legend. Anyone named Dusty in Australia? Because we had the artist Slim Dusty, and he's like a local legend, and he's dead now, but he was a performing artist for country music and just outback Australia, one of the great legends of that genre of music, right? So you hear the word Dusty as a name and it automatically keys that in as an Australian, and you're like, oh, Dusty must be a champion.
There we go. Yes,
There we go.
my Uncle Dusty.
All right, your Uncle Dusty, country music legend, already in Australia. What will break the internet?
What will break the internet?
What will break it?
This video of yours.
No, it's got to be Paulie's editing.
No.
It'll be one day. This video is not going to break the internet. There's not nearly enough nudity. I mean, I've seen some of your nude panning before, man, and that's got to come close to breaking it. Yes.
Scary.
Paulie sent me a photo. This is just going to be me interviewing you about Paulie. I've decided this whole.
There we go. Perfect.
But he sent me a photo of him on the river on his claim, and it was just a picture of him completely naked, but from behind in the middle of the snow. And I was like, that's keen. That's pretty keen. And then I see you doing it, and I was like, these Canadians are bloody mental.
Yes, we are.
just going full nude whenever you can, putting it on YouTube.
Why not? Why not? Go out there in nature. Oh, natural. In nature.
My dad goes on and on and on about your video that you did detecting at the nudist beach. He loves that video. He loves it.
That was a very fun day. Yes, it was.
You got big kahunas to go somewhere like that and just start swinging a coil. All right. Bit of a gold prospecting one. Let's jump into something a little bit more into our genre. What gold prospecting truth do you hear regularly on forums, Facebook pages, places like that? It's just utter crap. Like I see these questions all the time. They come up, and like one of them is really common. You won't find big gold with small gold. And you just know it's crap because I've found it, right? Like, It exists. So is there things that come up like that you see regularly, either in your comments or messages or whatever it might be? A known truth that's not actually true.
A known truth is not actually true. Well, there is a lot with... There's a lot of conventions that we have, and you know them as well as I do, that they work, but they're not necessarily always true. Like inside corners of rivers. Everyone knows you go to the inside corner to find your first piece of gold.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it's not that you can't find them on the outside corners. And, the saying that gold is where you find it, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those truths that you have to work with. when you go to a river for the first time, you're going to go to an inside corner because that's most likely where you're going to find it. But you can't rely on that 100% all the time, and don't just stick to that inside corner because you could find way better gold elsewhere.
It's your nail on the head with that one, especially. I worked a spot where I pulled out half an ounce of fine flour gold, and it was inside bend, upper bench, and we came down off that bench, which was about 2 meters above the river, and there's an outside bench. Now, that half an ounce was really good. When I did my test pans on the other side, I started finding fine flour gold, but also some chunkier bits that I hadn't seen on the other side. I cleaned that outside bend up, and it was only about 15 or 20 pans worth of soil total, and I pulled 3.8 grams off it, including 4 nuggets. And I looked at that and I was like, everyone else, after I went there and got my little bit of dirt from the edge, everyone else went to that spot and stripped it. Like, I'm talking 20, 30 meters of dirt just went missing when I was over in Canada from that spot. But no one touched the outside bend, and there was nuggets there. Like, the SDC just kept going, woo, woo. I was like, woo. So, yeah, exactly. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. So something I think that we both try and teach in gold prospecting is about exploring, like exploring your area, not listening to everyone else and what they're saying, but really looking around what your claim or what your piece of ground is telling you to find that gold.
Yeah, and you have to do the Hail Marys every once in a while too. Just ignore everything that you know and go try something that's just not right.
Yep.
And see what it offers you, because you could be surprised.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Just a Hail Mary, do something that's not right, and just see what happens. Like detecting on a nudist beach, and you never know.
Exactly.
All right. So on that sort of note, if you could know the absolute truth about a principle in gold prospecting, what would you like to know? So whether it's like something on your claim that you really want to know the absolute truth answer to, or something about hydrodynamics or whatever it is, something you don't fully yet understand that you want to know.
Well, in general, I think I have a good idea understanding of this, but in general, I'd love to know exactly how gold travels underwater. Like, I have a pretty good idea how it does, and I think I know this pretty well, but I would love to know for sure how it travels underwater in a runoff.
Yeah, like you want to have the visual picture of that nugget dragging across the bedrock and then falling in, or like the fine particles of gold going through the water. Yeah. Yeah, I like that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the little particles too. The little particles, like how far up in the flow are they? Are they bouncing across the bottom, or are those little tiny particles actually up in the flow and finding that slower area to drop?
My latest filmed video that I finished, I just filmed it 2 days ago, is exactly that. I moved with Mick 200 buckets or 2,000 liters of sand and put it through a high banker. And this sand is about 3 meters above the current creek level, and it could have only been deposited there from massive flood. And we've pulled easily more than a gram out of that sand, and it's just fine particles. That's it. There's no rock, nothing in it. So, yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like, I tested that theory. I was like, it's got to be in the top of the water, right? It can't be on the bottom. It's too light. Like, it's tiny. So. So there you go. They're easy.
And there is one other truth that I would love to know, and I am searching hard for this truth, is my Pickerton claim. I really want to know where the gold's coming from, because everything we know about the Fraser River, it shouldn't be there.
Okay, in depth, explain.
The Fraser River is known for its fine gold. Anywhere you dig on the Fraser, you find fine gold. You don't find bigger pieces too often. You do when on bedrock. You're going to find them on bedrock. You don't find them too often. And when you do, you're usually finding one or two of them. Where my Pickerton claim, I'm pulling dozens of Pickerton, hundreds of pickers off this claim. And it's up high on a bench, so it's not, it may have been the bottom of the river at one point, so that could be one of the excuses of why it's there. And I'm also finding some specimen stuff, quartz with the gold. which again is not something you find on the Fraser because the gold is typically traveled so far and Fraser is so violent it beats any rock out of the gold.
I experienced that where Paulie was, like, the gold there. I looked at the geology and I was like, this is because of the way that the ground has been absolutely butchered there. All that gold that he's finding every season's new. Like, it's been stripped out of reefs that are this long. Like, I read all the mining reports and all the geological reports and everything. You know, they said a reef that travels more than 12 meters is considered to be quite large there. And, like, that water is so high and so violent that it's just shredding these reefs, turning those sharp bits of reef gold into little blobs and depositing them on the bedrock. So yeah, that's very interesting. Because you're on the same fault, aren't you? You're on the Victoria Fault.
The Rocky Mountains is what's creating all of our gold, basically.
Yeah.
So the Victoria Fault, actually, I shouldn't say that because the Vancouver Island is different geology than where I am on the interior of BC.
Yep.
But pretty much it's the Rocky Mountains, the great big mountain range that runs the whole west coast of North America,
Yep.
is what's creating all of my gold.
It would be, I see why you're interested, because it was kind of like when I found the mustard pit and there was just such an abundance of flour gold all of a sudden. Like, you can find flour gold everywhere, but not like that. Not, we're over 2 ounces in to digging that stuff out at the moment, and it's just dots. But there's so much of it. So I started tracing it, and it took me about 3 months to figure it out, that there's a tailings dam upstream with a big hole blown in its bank. And you can see where the water runs out, and it follows this old creek bed all the way back, and the first inside bend is where the mustard pit is. So it's just shedding out of that tailings dam and landing there. Like, when you solve those mysteries, it's really good. You're like, oh, yes. Satisfaction.
At the Pickerton Claim, there's quartz veins, or what you would call reefs, all through it. Everywhere you go, there's another one. And I keep looking at every piece of quartz I see coming out of there, hoping one day to see a piece of gold in it, because that would be definitive.
Yeah.
That would tell me for sure that the gold I'm finding on Pickerton is coming from right there.
Yeah.
And I think there's a chance of that. But again, I don't have enough information yet
to one day
really tell where it comes from.
One day soon you will. It will happen.
Hopefully.
Okay. From the random basket. Do you have any useless talents?
My wife would say I have a lot of useless stuff.
But we know
that, my goodness.
If your partner says that it's a useless talent, we know the truth. It's really actually a quite valuable talent, like collecting stuff in your shed.
Oh my goodness. I'm a metalwork teacher. That's what traditionally I'm a metalwork teacher. I have, in the past, taken up the hobby of making medieval armor. So that would probably be a very useless talent I have.
Oh, for the time being, but once The Walking Dead actually happens in real life, you'll be sweet. Like,
exactly. I need that for the zombie apocalypse. Yes.
Yes, exactly. That's far from a useless talent. I was looking for one like, you could dislocate your thumb or something, but medieval armor making, that's right up there. So, what did you actually want to be when you were growing up? Did you want to be a metalworking teacher, or did you want to be something else?
I decided to be a teacher when I was in grade 10. What's grade 10? About 15 years old. 15, I decided 16? That teaching was for me. Yeah, 15, 16, something like that. And I went for it then. And I've been doing that for about 25 years now. And recently, I'm contemplating actually getting out of teaching.
Wow. All right.
YouTube has taken off for me.
Yep.
And I wonder if I spent the time that I spend working, my day job, prospecting, doing YouTube, if I could make a living doing that, doing something that I'm a bit more passionate about now.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because there's a lot of, how should I put this? There's a lot of people that want to do what we do, right? Like to the level that we do. And I made a video on this some time ago that said, so you want to be a gold prospecting YouTuber. And it ran through the fundamentals of why you should want to do it. Now, when I started this, it was because gold prospecting was a reprieve from me and PTSD and all that sort of stuff, that horrible crap. And I enjoyed it. And I've always filmed stuff. I've always enjoyed having a video camera in my hand. So the two sort of just meshed together. And then I put them on YouTube because I wanted to share with the online community that I was part of on Facebook and some of the gold prospecting forums about what I was doing in the Northeast. And then it just sort of exploded. And it was never about making money on YouTube or doing YouTube full time. It was always like, I like videoing stuff. I like gold prospecting. Here you go. Like, have the two mesh together. And so when you get the opportunity to take it to that level where you get to do something that you enjoy and that you really love, it's something that, as far as we know, we come this way but once, right? So it's that thing, like, why not? Why wouldn't you give it a shot, a chance at doing something new like that? 25 years in metalworking, teacher, you must have at least 25 suits of armor. So you got to start on something else.
Exactly.
All right.
Although, there's part of me that dislikes kind of where I've gotten to on YouTube, in that I feel like I'm selling my soul a little bit.
Ooh, yeah, go on.
Because if I want to be able to do this full time, I have to still be able to support my family. I have to put food on the table. So I have to make enough money at the YouTube in order to justify quitting a very good paying job. Teaching is very good paying.
Yeah.
So I do things like put extra ads in the videos. I'm selling pay dirt now. I'm doing things to bring in revenue.
Yeah.
So that I can continue the YouTube.
Yeah.
Which some days I wonder if I've gone too far with that, and I know some of my viewers would say I have. They tell me so in the comments, for sure.
The comment section is nasty. The comment section can be, it can tune you up real good. Like, it just takes one and your whole day's ruined.
Exactly. Exactly. But the other option is not doing that and staying teaching and maybe not continuing YouTube or not doing it well or often. And I think that's a worse option.
See,
for everyone.
Yeah, like, I go through the same thing. Like, I tell me if this resonates with you. You wake up and you're really energized to make a video. So you go out to where you're going to mine, and you've got an idea in your head, and you make your film, and then you upload it, and it doesn't get quite as many views as you were hoping, because it doesn't reach the same enthusiasm level online as it does with you. And it takes you down a notch, and then it's really hard to fight your way out of that. And you're like, oh, I'm just going to give it all up. I can't be bothered with this, and it's like a week of you just being like, I'm not going to pick up a camera again. And then next week you're like, I've got a great idea for a video, and out you go. And
it's not necessarily one video for me. It's usually when my channel goes in a slump, and I get 5 or 6 or 10 in a row that haven't done well, and I question, like, is that it? Am I done?
Yep.
Is that the end of my channel right there? And then I'll have one that just takes right off, and I realize that no, it's just the cyclical nature of YouTube.
I was in Canada, and my channel went from, it was like 250,000 to 300,000 views a month, and it dropped down to like 150, and you could see this huge slump in analytics, and it was brutal to look at. And that lasted the entire time I was in Canada, and for about 2 weeks after I got back. And then I found, I made a Dad's Reef video, and it all picked back up. But that slump, like 6 weeks worth of just looking at your channel, it looks like it's dying. Like, there's no one watching and no one cares, and you're getting negative comments and all this sort of crap. And you're just incredibly frustrated with the whole process. And then all of a sudden something happens that picks right back up, and you just learn after a while it's a roller coaster. Like, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. Sometimes those bad days are going to last for a month.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to play or try to figure out the algorithm, the YouTube world, and always worried that you're going to do something wrong that hurts your channel, overall hurts your channel. You do things wrong all the time that hurt a video. That's normal.
Yeah.
But I'm always worried it would hurt the channel.
Yeah.
Like we talked just on Facebook the other day about my experiment with doing 8 videos in 7 days.
Yeah.
I worry that could, in the short term, be awesome. In the long term, be terrible.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
100%. It's a reason why I do a lot of my live streams on Facebook, because I find that the people on Facebook are really engaged with the channel and they want to learn more. So they come to Facebook, and that's where I put a lot more information. So I do a live stream on there and I get heaps of engagement. People ask me really interesting questions and I get the opportunity to address those in a long format. But if I do it on YouTube, I almost always see a negative impact on the overall channel. And it's just this strange thing, and it puts you in a paranoid mindset that, like, I could be releasing 3 videos a week. There's nothing stopping me from going out and doing that, but it's probably going to be detrimental to the channel. And overall, I want this channel to get out there. I mean, on my end, I want it to get out there because I've got such an emphasis on the mental illness and mental health side of things, and I feel like I don't want that message to get lost. So doing something that's detrimental to my channel is ultimately really bad. That's how I feel. And I'm guessing you get the same thing. You know, you got a lot to teach, you got a lot to show, and people are benefiting from the knowledge you're sharing. And so if you do something that causes YouTube to force your videos down, all of a sudden you're in a position where that knowledge isn't getting out as much.
Yeah. And it's interesting to hear you say that about live streams. I did the experiment for 6 months. I did a live stream a month on YouTube.
Yep.
And after my experiment, looking at the analytics, that really hurt my channel. You know, listening to the people on the live stream, they loved it.
Yep. Your core following.
My core following loved it. But overall, every live stream lost me significant subscribers. Everyone. And I just realized I can't do that on my YouTube channel. I can't hurt it that much. Even though I like your idea about doing it on Facebook because that is your core following.
Yep.
And you can't hurt that core following the same way.
No, because they're there to learn.
Live stream, the live streams on YouTube, I probably won't go back to them after seeing what they did.
There's only a couple of things that I'm looking forward to doing live on YouTube in the future, which is I want to do live panning sessions where I take people through running concentrates and all that, and they get to ask their questions directly. I think a really interactive, more than just talking segment could be really beneficial for myself and for the people who follow me. Yeah.
And I think you're right. If you're in the field, if you can somehow do a live in the field, I think you would be fine.
Yeah.
I think why you lose subscribers is they see another Dan Hurd video, so they want to jump on it and look at it, and then they see me sitting in my living room and say, this isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, on the note of what we can't do on YouTube, but what we can't do in mining, is there something in mining that you've always wanted to do that you haven't been able to for one reason or another? Like, I watched you, one of the first videos I ever watched of yours was when you used the mini blaster and you popped a big rock out of the way so you could get into more alluvial wash, and it was really cool. I love that video. It's what made me subscribe to you in the first place. But I can't use explosives here. That sort of stuff doesn't exist where I am. So is there something like that?
Right. Yeah, definitely, and back to the mini blaster for a second. I'm not allowed to do that anymore either. The Ministry of Mines contacted me and said, Dan, stop it.
You're being a naughty boy, Dan.
I'm not allowed to do that anymore. Yeah, but no, there is one for sure. I would love to dredge. That seems something that seems like so much fun. I'd love to get underwater with the dredge, but it's against the rules here in BC. And I know people have offered to take me out across, like in the States, just across the line, which isn't far away from me. And someday I will do that for sure. But I think that would be a fabulous way to mine.
Oh, mate, you're speaking to my soul. That's one thing I want to do. I've got places that are just full of sand and small gold, and I'm like, if I had a dredge, I could just clean up, and it would be ounces every single cleanup. But nope, shovels and picks for me.
Yeah. Do you have rules there against it? Is that why you don't do it?
Dredging has been illegal in Australia since 1991, so you cannot do it. It's just, yeah, and most states you can't even high bank or river sluice. It's really locked up. I live in Victoria, and we have some of the laxest mining rules. We're still allowed to use high bankers, we can still use stream sluices, so we've got more processing power than most people around the country, which is probably why a lot of people from New South Wales contact me and be like, what you're doing is illegal, and I'm like, no, it's not, it's okay in Victoria. Here's the law.
Yeah. River sleuthing seems fun too. That's something that we're not allowed to do, is river sleuthing.
Oh, really?
But that seems so nice, having clean, clear water constantly going through your machine like that. Oh yeah.
Oh, we don't have that. We don't have water in Australia.
You get to see the gold. You get to see the gold as you're putting it in. Like, that's amazing.
In winter we have enough flow that we get some like clean-ish water coming down, but in summer it's just muck and gunk and horrible stuff. Even the big rivers around here are pretty much dry at the moment. There's one here that's nothing more than puddles and leeches. That's it. That's all that's there. If you were learning prospecting again, and say you had enough skill to know how to pan and set up a sluice and all those basic fundamental things, what lesson would you like to know straight off the bat this time? Like, I know for me personally, it's exactly what we talked about before, which was not to go where everyone else says, like the inside bend, but to try everything. And by trying everything, it took me years to learn that you'll find more gold. You'll find deposits that just haven't been touched because everyone else goes to the other spots. That's what I would like to know again. So what would you like to know?
Well, I think it's that intuition that you develop, that I call it intuition, but it's really just all the knowledge that you have in your head that you don't really specifically think of as a piece of knowledge. It's everything meshed together. I go out with people all the time, and we go to a riverbank or a bedrock outcrop, and I don't really even think about where I should be going. I just know that that's a good spot, and I go there, and everyone else tries other spots, and almost always I'm finding better spots than them. And it's not because I'm luckier, or it's just all of that experience and knowledge that's built up in there helps so much. So if you could start a prospecting career with that kind of intuition,
yeah.
Oh man, where could you take it? But that's not something that you can learn on the spot. That just takes time and practice and effort and
100%. I actually made a video on that subject. I made a video on it. And it stems from its basis in photography, believe it or not. Is that I'll give you the quickest snapshot I can, because it's a really complicated.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I remember that one about how you see so much more than you actually see, or something like that you were talking about.
So your brain automatically renders its environment, and it does this to survive. It does this because it needs to know if there's a predator or something bad waiting to kill you out in the big wild world. And if it didn't automatically render things for you, you would be overwhelmed with information. The amount of information that comes into our bodies every day is just huge. So you have to be able to function. This automatic rendering makes you blind. And the only way that you can get around that blindness first is to pause and really look, like spend time just sitting in one spot and let your eyes wander over everything and think about areas that aren't obvious, and think about all these other things that we've been talking about. And then through experience, by testing those spots and digging in different areas and trying different things, your brain automatically renders those parts of knowledge into the picture of the world. So you're not seeing it, just like you said. You didn't think about it. You didn't see it. Your brain just slotted it in. It's like, I've got this piece of information filed away. I know this area quite well. There's no predators here. This bit of information belongs on that piece of rock. And then you walk to that rock and there's gold there, right? I think that's pretty amazing. The human brain's an awesome piece of kit.
Now, I think your question was probably sort of designed around, like, if a new prospector was watching this, what should he learn that he might not think about learning first?
Yeah.
And you can't learn that.
No, you can't.
That's not a thing that, well, you can, but it's learned over a huge amount of
A
time.
long time. Yeah. I suppose. So, okay. So on that note, what is the piece of information that people should learn? What should they be learning? If you've got the fundamental skills, what should they be learning?
Networking.
Networking.
Finding someone else that knows what they're doing, knows the area, something that you can get that knowledge, that knowledge that they can't build up because it takes years getting that. So if you find a placer club in the area that you can make, join, or you make friends with the other local miners around that you can go out with. That's something I never did early on. I probably should have, because they're going to take me to spots that I wouldn't think of. They're going to know spots that are already good. They're going to be able to help you identify how to read where the gold is lying, even if you know how to pan, but you might not be able to read that river so well yet. So they're going to help you with that. So I think my suggestion to people, once they learn how to pan, is go and find others that they can do it with.
You speak great truth, because my mentor, the guy that originally took me out, has been doing it for like 50 plus years. And he took me out and he's like, here, look at this, check this out. And we spent like a year together just walking around and doing it. Perhaps that's why I've had the success that I've had in my career, because just like you're saying, he's someone that had that level of intuition and was able to fully teach me all the little nuances that you often miss when you read online forums and watch YouTube videos.
Okay, time for me to ask you a question.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, you go by Vo-Gus Prospecting. Now, looking at your name on Facebook and stuff, your last name is obviously not Vo-Gus.
No.
But it's very close to it. Where did you come up with Vo-Gus then?
That's the Hungarian pronunciation. So it is actually it. Yeah, there's a few different pronunciations of my last name, but Vo-Gus is the phonetic pronunciation from Hungary.
Okay, and it starts with a B.
Yep, which is pronounced as a V.
And in Hungarian, they pronounce that with a V.
Yep, apparently. So I met some Hungarian bloke, and he looked at my name, and then he started talking to me in Hungarian, and I was like, I have no idea what you're on about. And then he went, oh, and he explained it to me, and I went, okay, cool. Because it's actually Lithuanian. The last name is Lithuanian. So they I can't pronounce it very well in Lithuanian, so I'm not going to butcher it. But in English, it's Vo-Guses. It was really funny. I got a nasty comment one day from a guy. He goes, Vo-Gus prospecting, more like bogus prospecting. And I was like, you have no idea how accurate you just were.
You're right on, man.
You're right on. Bang on. Absolutely. Any more questions?
Yeah. No, that was... Oh, sure. Why not?
Why not? We're here.
How was the fire situation? We all were feeling for you last month.
Today, officially declared that all the fires are contained for the first time since November. So several of them are out. The biggest fire's out completely because we've had rain, really heavy rain, like 700 millimeters of rain in about a week. So that doused that. There's still many burning, but they're all contained within an area, which means that they're likely to not get any bigger, which is really good. But it was brutal. I mean, like, we're talking about the biggest landmass fire that has ever been recorded in Australia. So it's a lot. It's huge. To put it in perspective, it's like the size of England as a whole. That's how much land's burnt here. It's just, we're in a little patch of land that hasn't burnt in between two main fire fronts. It's just like absolutely insane. But I have to say that we've been very lucky, because the Black Saturday fires that I was part of killed 173 people in one day because they were that ferocious. And that sparked a Royal Commission and then a heap of new laws and guidelines put in place, which ultimately have saved a lot of lives and property. So even though we lost life and everything else here, and it's been such a protracted event, like months and months of this, the overall impact for humans, at the very least, hasn't been as bad. And that's shows us that we're on the right track. And now with this one, we're having another Royal Commission. We can modify those laws again and make sure that things are put in place so this sort of thing doesn't happen on this scale again, as much as we can help it. Yeah.
Well, we were all feeling for you. We all were, for sure. And not that there's much we can do from here, but we're all sending you our best wishes.
Man, there wasn't much we could do from here, so we appreciate it. Look, I got one question that I really want to ask you, which is, where do you see Dan Hurd prospecting in 5 years? So 5 years, you've already talked about wanting to do YouTube full time and stuff. So 5 years from now, where would you like to be?
I kind of like it to be where it is today. I don't need it to go anywhere else. I don't need to, do TV shows or big productions or anything like that. I've been offered many of them, but I don't need to do that. I like what I'm doing, and actually I've even made a decision that if some of those big producers come back to me and offer me something now, I would say no.
Yeah.
I don't need that extra anymore.
Yeah.
Thought about it years ago. I thought, if I'm on the next gold rush, awesome.
For sure. Yeah.
But no, it's not me anymore. That would be so much stress on the family and everything that I don't need it.
Yeah.
I'd like to just continue doing what I do, showing my adventures, finding gold.
Keeping it real.
Maybe step up a few things. Yeah. Stepping up a few things a little bit. Maybe like the little machine operation I have. I got a buddy actually who we're putting in new permits on it now, so it's going to grow in scale a little bit, but nothing huge.
Yeah, nice.
One thing I would like to do more of is go out and record other people working. So
yeah, that's a big one.
Myself, I'd like to go to a small placer operation and do a video of what they're doing, not necessarily what I'm doing.
I'm so happy you said this, because I've been thinking about this for literally the last year, wanting to just go out with a couple of people who I know what they're doing and just make a video on them, like just what they do, and got nothing to do with me, because I would love to put both my editing and filming skills, as well as being an observer, like what people will observe us, I'd like to be able to do to someone else.
Oh yeah, as you know, it's so hard to mine and film yourself mining at the same time.
One pan, yeah. Tripod 1, tripod 2, tripod 3, hand cam. Non-stop, yeah. It's brutal filming yourself. And then my worst part, I just had to sit down and fix my camera because I got all this gravel in the go button that makes it record. I had to sit there with a pin and flick all the rocks out. It's like an $800 camera, and you're like fixing it with a pin.
Yep, I had mine completely apart, replacing the whole lens mechanism because I got sand in the gears of the lens mechanism, and it just wouldn't work anymore. So yes, I hear you.
That's brutal. I'm glad I did not.
I had a picture out on my Instagram not long ago of the carnage. I had my kitchen table full of my old cameras and cell phones and equipment that I've destroyed.
I saw that.
I've just destroyed doing this YouTube thing.
Well, so on that note of Gold Rush that you were just talking about before, if younger you ended up on that show and you went full scale and you got a bigger wash plant and some excavators and that, they all like to name their wash plants things. So like Parker's got Slucifer, and Rick's now using, God, what's he using? I can't remember the name of it. Big Red. And then what's the bloke that left the show? Not Tony Beats. Tony Beats has got the New Zealand plant, and the Holy Roller was the other one. What would you name your wash plant? What's your wash plant name?
Well, I've never thought that, but the little tiny wash plant that I had up at my Trout Creek claim, I think I joked that it was like the Frankenstein of wash plants before, because it was all just sort of patched together and nailed together. It was so terrible.
The Frankenplant.
Frankenstein might be it.
Yeah, Frankenstein. Yeah. I love that. That would be cool. I was half expecting you to go with something like Redbeard, like to follow the theme. But Frankenstein is a much better name for a wash plant. I love the idea of that, because something's going to break on it, and you're just going to end up welding things on and
Yeah.
bits and pieces. So yeah, that's good. Frankenstein. I gotta look. I gotta look at my questions because I forgot to. All right, beginner question. Serious beginner question. You might have seen my Gold Hog review for the Gold Hog Flow Pan,
Yep.
and I don't get emails from Gold Hog anymore, so which is
I
understandable.
don't know if I should say this where it's being recorded, but
No, it's not. It's
they sent me one at the same time.
Yep,
I have one that I have to do a review of.
yep.
And so far, my review is going to be a mirror image of you. Like, it's going to be exactly what you said.
Well, it's important. It's
Um,
important to give people honest reviews because it puts credibility behind your word because you're not lying to them just to sell products just because someone sent you something, and that's super important because honesty in mining is, I'd say, a rarer thing. Like, how many times do we tell each other where we got that gold and all that sort of jazz?
Yeah.
But, so having a level of honesty is incredibly important. It shows that you've got integrity, but more importantly, I think it sets beginners up for a level of realism. And what I wanted to ask you was, with all the advertising that's going around with like the Gold Hog pans and Gold Claw and the Banjo pan and the Turbo pan and Dream Mat sluicing and Gold Hog mats and all the gear that's been done to death with how good all of it apparently is, what would you tell someone to go out and buy if they were there and they're like, I want to buy a pan and I want to buy a sluice? What would you tell them to get?
well, you're ruining the punchlines of my video series coming up, but no, that's okay. um, the Garrett Super Sluice. The pan is the Garrett Super Sluice. I haven't found any. All of those other pans will work, and if you get good at any of the pan, it doesn't matter what the pan is. If you get good at it, it's going to work well for you.
Yep.
But nothing compares to the Garrett Super Sluice. It's sturdy. It withstands the abuse that we can give it. It's just, for me, it's just the right amount of material. My wife doesn't like it because it's too much material for her. But, for me, it's the perfect amount of material in there. It's not too heavy. And I haven't found anything that works as well as it. There's I won't say gimmicky pans, but that's the wrong term. Like the flat pan,
the disc.
Yeah. It works really well for speed panning, for an ideal situation where you can set yourself up just perfectly for that pan and possibly even have someone else shoveling onto it or something for you. It works probably better than a Garrett Super Sluice in a very narrow window of situations. But the Super Sluice works everywhere. And I've actually gone head-to-head speed panning with a flat pan and someone who's supposed to know how to use it. And I was faster in the Garrett than the flat pan.
I find this is...
It's whatever you're using.
Yeah, 100%. It's versatility is what you're talking about. So the versatility of the product and how many places you can actually physically use that thing. And so like here in Australia... where I am, there's very few creeks that have year-round water that would be able to use the Garrett Super Sluice. So often we end up using the little 10-inch pans and stuff like that because they're far easier to get under the water and things like that. And that's, again, is what you're talking about. It fits within a narrow band of applications. There's no point me taking a full-size pan to a creek that only has a couple of standing puddles that are 4 centimeters deep. I've got to take a little pan. But it's such an important issue that I think beginners miss, that the pan you use, the sluice you use, doesn't actually get you the gold. You get you the gold. You've got to find it. All it does is extract it. Extracting's easy. Like, extracting's just, it's like 10% of what you actually have to know to be a successful gold prospector, I feel, personally.
And any pan will extract the gold.
Yep.
Any one of them out there will do it.
Yeah, and talking about speed, like, so in my Gold Hog review, I compared all the numbers, and then a lot of Gold Hog fans got on there and tried to tear me to shreds in the comments section, and I had to come back at them like I spent a month testing this pan and doing these tests again and again. These are the numbers, and this is what it's losing. The the trap I think people fall into is that they look at things like moving quantity of dirt means more gold, and to do that I need to be fast. When I really like this saying from the Navy SEALs, which is slow and smooth is fast. So it's just about doing everything right the first time. You said that you're faster with a Garrett Super Sluice pan, and I proved I was faster than a River Sluice with my Mine Lab pan, just by pushing the top gravels out. And I did the loss test, and it was negligible. Like, we're talking 5% loss. Yeah, it's...
And your Mine Lab pan is so similar to the Garrett Super Sluice. It's got smaller riffles rather than the big ones, but in general, it's the same technology. It's the same beast.
It is 100%. The thing I think, I really want a Garrett Super Sluice, but they're hard to get in my area unless I order them online, and I'm really bad at just wanting things now. So that's what stops me from getting one. It's like, I've got to order it. What about...
One of the things I like about the Super Sluice is it's thicker plastic than any other pan.
It is.
And, I can turn it upside down and stand on it and not worry about breaking it.
Wow, I like...
I often bring two with me, and when I'm out in the winter and wet weather or something, one pan goes upside down wherever I want to pan, and I sit on it. It's my seat, so I'm not getting muddy.
I love that. I love that. That is so good. So what about sluices then? So in my personal experience, after using a potato sack and a rocker box, there's no such thing as a bad sluice mat. It's all about how you set it up. And the difference is idiot proofing. And idiot proofing means anyone could use it without reading or understanding the instructions and still have success with it. Dream Mat, I feel, falls into that category, because I've set those things up dumb, like really dumb, and still caught most of my gold with them. I kind of get overseeing all the arguments online about how Dream Mat's better than just every other one. But then I tried the Gold Hog matting, and it was perfect. Like, I had no issues with that Gold Hog matting at all. As soon as I set it up according to their instructions, ran it, perfect. So if someone was buying a sluice, what should they be buying? What should they be looking for their first one ever?
Okay, so I think any sluice or any high banker will work for you. My biggest thing I look for in a high banker is the hopper. I don't...
Oh, yeah.
Any sluice part of a high banker is going to catch you the gold.
Yep.
The hopper is what is sort of the interface between you and that high banker. It's where you're throwing the dirt or placing the dirt or washing it, whatever. And if you have a small, narrow hopper, you're spending more time trying to get that dirt into it than you're spending digging. And I like a big open hopper that you can put things in that washes the gravel really well and clears the rocks well. Whether it's you clearing the rocks or it's clearing it on itself, it has to be quick one way or the other. So my biggest thing I look for in a sluice or a high banker is the hopper.
It's a beautiful thing you just said there. I spent many evenings on my front porch with a friend of mine who was a former pattern maker. So he built patterns to manufacture stuff out of steel and plastic and metal and all that sort of crap. And he and I talked about how we could improve sluicing, and we came to the same conclusion. The mat is irrelevant. It doesn't matter about the mat, right? Because it's going to do its job. It all comes down to whether your high banker liberates the dirt from the clay, rock, and mud, and then stratifies it. If you can do those two things, it means most of your gold's going to go over the mat, and then it's going to get caught. If you're not washing your rocks properly and you're not clearing them, because by having clumps of gravel sitting in that top hopper box, you're going to get clay in that re-sticks to it, and then it falls off, and it's lost gold right there. So I'm so happy you said that. It just makes me very, very happy to know that other people think like that.
Now, talking about the matting, originally I was sold on expanded metal overminer's moss because I thought that's what everyone's used for so long. It's proven. It works. When I first got my first Gold Hog mats, intuitively to me, they weren't going to work. They didn't look right. I I was proven wrong. Now I would never go back to miner's moss or expanded steel over miner's moss. I would always use a rubber mat of some sort. I still sometimes throw a section of the expanded over miners in my sluice somewhere, but in general, the rubber mats, whether they're Gold Hog, Dream Mat, Gold Owl, I don't care. They all work well enough.
Yeah.
Some might work a bit better than others, but they're all within that range that you're catching such a high percentage of gold that it doesn't really matter.
Well, this is what I was explaining in some of my videos, that none of these mats fail. None of them. It's how you set it up. It's mostly user error when you start blowing gold out, and so as long as you're set up within parameters and running the correct feed rate, you're probably not going to have an issue. It doesn't matter what you own. Just buy the one that you like the look of the most.
Yeah. And, expanded steel over miner's moss still catches just as much gold as those other ones.
Oh, yeah.
The only problem with it is it's grabbing so much black sand, so much of the other heavy, that your cleanup is brutal, where these rubber mats are clearing and... Yes, they're separating those black sands so much better.
The only real advantage to collecting lots of black sands like that is if you're going to further process it. So in our area, there's a percentage of gold. It was about 2 ounces a ton if you chemically reduce the black sand to extract the gold. So if you're doing that, then expanded mesh and miner's moss is the way to go, because you don't want to reduce the blacks at all. You want to make sure you have as many of them as possible.
I've heard that in some of areas in the States, too, that there's so much gold tied up in that black sand that they want to keep it. I've tried smelting some of our black sand. I've tried, under a microscope, acids, all sorts of things. And basically, I've never found any gold tied up in our black sands.
Yeah.
There's fine gold in there, but that can still be separated.
Yeah.
I've never found anything in here in BC that's actually tying it up in the blacks.
Well, I suppose that it comes down to your geological area. So there's going to be places like that all over the world that will have it and that don't have it. And then whether or not you're willing to go down a different route of extraction, because panning and sluicing is very easy, but when you start dealing with chemicals and all that lovely other stuff, it can become quite dangerous quite quickly.
Yeah.
So have you had any encounters with bears or pointy see, in Australia, all our creatures that can hurt us are like a centimeter or two big. They're not big, they're tiny, right? You're probably not even going to see it. And it will kill you.
The scorpions, the bees,
even the snakes, right? You'll die and you'll have 2 little puncture wounds on you. But in North America, the things that are going to kill you either are holding guns or could pick you up and carry you away.
The ones that are holding guns are the dangerous ones.
Yeah.
Yes. The bears are running away from you as fast as you're running away from them. I've never had a bear encounter that has scared me. Doesn't mean I don't see bears. I have had some very, very close to me, but nothing has ever scared me thinking that I'm in danger.
Yeah.
We were sitting around a campfire one night, maybe 100 feet, maybe 200 feet from the river, and a bear walked down the side of the river between us and the river, and it just kept walking. At one point, someone made a hoot or holler at it. It looked at us and tore off, ran away.
It blows me away that you guys are so nonchalant about some of the biggest land carnivores on Earth. You're just like, oh yeah, it's just a bear, it's fine. And then you come over here, I'm like, Shane desperately wanted to go rock flipping. He goes, Chris, I'm going to go rock flipping. I'm going to take photos of what's under the rocks. I looked at him and I, do you have a death wish? Do you want to die? He's like, why? I go, well, the only things that live under rocks in Australia are likely to put you in hospital. I said, if you flip it over and there's a brown snake under there, where we are now, you're going to have to just lie down, stay very, very still while I kill the snake. And then I'm going to have to walk out, leave you here all on your lonesome, go and get help, and hopefully when we get back, you haven't moved too much so the venom doesn't get pumped around your body and you're dead. And he's like, and he looks at me, he's like, guess I'm not going rock flipping then.
One of the more dangerous things we have here, which I still always consider dangerous, are the cougars, the mountain lions,
Yep.
and they're stealthy. Like, I've only ever seen one mountain lion. I know thousands of them have seen me, but I've only ever seen one.
Yeah, Paulie said the same thing to me when I was walking around. He goes, "Oh, we don't worry about bears. It's the mountain lions you got to worry about." All right, cool.
Yeah.
Absolute.
But no, I don't carry a gun with me. I do carry bear spray in certain areas, but I've never had to use it. And it's just not something that scares me.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about, people not wanting me where I am.
Yeah. Well, you've had
we
claim
get pretty
jumpers,
close.
haven't you? You've had multiple. I've seen the videos.
I've had lots of claim jumpers. And also, I end up going into a lot of lands that are either close to private lands or overlapping on private lands that I'm supposed to sort of inform the landowners first, but I don't always get a chance to. And also, like, First Nations reserves and CN, that's our big rail company here. I have to cross their lands all the time. So I'm more worried about upsetting someone about being where I'm not supposed to be.
Treading on toes. Like, you
am.
have a legal right to mine that area, but it's not your land. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds tricky. See, I don't really have to deal with any of that down here because we don't have claims. Like, in Victoria, it's very rare for claims to pop up. There are a few, but they're very expensive to get hold of and mine and operate and all that sort of stuff. So it's just not here. In Western Australia, it's just like in BC. Permits, claims, the works. And people, you find someone and you claim, you're not going to have a very, very good afternoon if you're that claim jumper. So
Yeah.
I got one final question for you. What's the biggest
Sure.
nugget you've found so far?
About 3 grams. So, size of your pinky finger, the bigger fingernail. And that was on my Pickerton claim. And I found a couple close to that size on it now.
Yeah.
Which, again, is unheard of for the Fraser River. It's just crazy.
My biggest is 3.8 grams, and I found it in Beechworth, and Beechworth is not known for nuggets. It's all flower gold, so I couldn't believe it when that thing popped out of the ground. It's a good find. It's a nice size, too. It's like a marble, hey? He's just able to roll them around. They're really, really cool. I love them.
Yeah, it's such a weird feeling when you find those big pieces, too, because you're excited, but it's kind of like you're not acting as excited sort of as you feel like.
Oh, just a 3-gram nugget. Yeah, that's not that bad. It's pretty good. And inside you're like, yeah. I love that so much. All right, Dan. Well, thank you very much for jumping on with me and having this chat. I hope that the people listening to this have gained some insight both in YouTube gold prospecting and learned a little bit more about Dan Hurd and Dan Hurd prospecting.
Well, it was awesome talking with you. You're one of those people I would love to spend some time with someday. Whether I go there, you come here, whatever. I'd love to get to know you better. And it's been so nice getting to know Polly, getting to know someone else doing what I'm doing. And I would love to do that with you, with Sean, with Jeff, all of the crew out there that's doing the same kind of stuff. It'd be so neat to get to know you guys better.
Oh, 100%, man. I'd love to hit the Fraser River. Paulie was telling me all about it and your claims and that he's been on, and just to come and spend a day with a heap of people doing YouTube and gold would be amazing, because the experience I've had working with other YouTubers who do the same thing as me has always been fun. So I can't imagine what it would be like to get a bunch of us in one area and just be able to share ideas and concepts and experiences would be really, really cool. So we'll make it happen one day. We're going to have to do that because it's one of those things. It's one of those things. Got to do it. All right, Dan, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you have a pleasant evening there in the, I'm guessing, snow right now, because it's
actually raining right now. It's melting, so that's good.
Yeah, it's like snow concentrate. It's there, but it's not quite there yet. All right, buddy. Thank you very much, and I will talk to you hopefully next time. I would love to have you back on, so we'll tee something up.
Absolutely.
Like that. All right. See you, mate.
You bet. Have a good night. Bye.